Good morning. I want to explain to you why I came to have these ideas that some people think are rather strange. When I was a teenager, I read a book by Nevil called On the Beach. It was about a nuclear winter, which had come about when a small country which had an atomic bomb dropped the bomb, and all the major countries, imagining it was their enemies, dropped bombs on their enemies, and the whole of the atmosphere became contaminated with radiation. The population had died out, and the story was about one man trying to find out if anyone else had survived in the world. I suppose it had a great effect on me. Another thing which had a great effect on me was learning about how the dinosaurs became extinct. The world was hit by an asteroid which put up a huge dust cloud which blotted out the sun for such a long time that many animals became extinct at that time. If it can happen once, and it's happened more than once of course, it can happen again. Towards the end of my career, I became a nursery nurse, working with babies and toddlers and small children. And when I retired, I sat down and thought to myself, what sort of a future did they have? It seems to me there are a lot of things that can go wrong in this delicate world of ours. We hear about global warming. We see refugee camps. There are people in their 20s who've been born in refugee camps and cannot leave because they have nowhere to go, because they have no state they belong to. And I wondered if there was any way of doing something for all these things. Now, the solution I came to, and I hope maybe some of you will come to a better solution, was that what we need is UN cities that belong to the United Nations. And the only way we could get something like that would be if countries who had pieces of land that they really didn't want, like desert, could donate land to the United Nations so it could become their land and they could build cities. The cities couldn't be ordinary cities such as we know them. They would need to be enclosed. I call them hill cities because they could be in the form of a hill. When I talk about hill cities, I'm thinking in terms of a city inside a dome. It might be about 50 stories high. And that might sound shocking to people who like to look at the sky, but it needn't be claustrophobic. I imagine the corridors as being wide and lined with many vines and plants to keep the air sweet, and the air being conducted from the ground level to escape at ceiling level when it's been heated and used, to go up to the top of the building, be cooled, and then to fall down to the bottom of the building again to be recycled. In fact, the dome city will need to be able to recycle all things, air and water, partly because water is becoming a scarce resource, and these cities are likely to be built in places where there's very little water, but also because if there were a global disaster, both air and water might become contaminated. The city will be very safe. There will be no cars to cause accidents, and for elderly people, it would be a wonderful place to live because they could go out in the evenings without it getting dark. They don't have to wait in the wind and the rain for buses and other forms of transport. And people will be able to go on living full lives much longer than they can at present. At present, a lot of people spend the last years of their lives holed up in their flats and not able to get out. This city will not have steps. Obviously there'll be staircases, but there will also be lifts. And so it will be a very safe, comfortable place for people to retire to. When people first move into the cities, there will probably not be enough money to pay them all. What I'd like to see is a system where people work for a certain number of hours in exchange for their board, lodging, education, recreation, and also a premium to reserve a place for them in their retirement. The other thing about these cities is that if we are going to travel to other parts of the universe and colonize other planets, the people who go there will need to have enclosed cities. I'm told that they will be built underground to protect them from radiation, but nevertheless they will be enclosed. And it might be that NASA would be interested to find out what is necessary for people to live in harmony in an enclosed city. This might be a good plan before we set off for the planets that could be colonized.